Welcome to Above Par. I'm your host, Kathy Hartwood. I show you how to take more of your talent to the golf course without practicing harder, taking more lessons, or buying new equipment. I show you how to end the frustration of underperforming so you can start playing to your potential. This is where you are going to learn how to think above par so you can play below par. Let's get to it. Hello, my golf friend. Welcome back to Think Above Par. Hope you had a beautiful week. This is coming to you after the PGA Championship, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit about some of the commentating I heard and some of the shots that folks were hitting around the greens, and it made me think about the term hard. This is a hard shot. This is a hard up and down. This is impossible. He's dead over there. Like some of the terminology that we use and that I heard in the commentating just made me start thinking about the way that that impacts our brain and our ability to hit those shots. So today I want to talk to you about hard shots, right? And how we define them in our head. And I think I'm just going to pull it apart a little bit for you to help you specifically with short game shots around the green. You can for sure take this into any shot that you want, but I want to specifically talk about short game shots because that was really what struck me when I listened to the PGA and also with a call that I had with a client who was talking about a really hard short game shot. So this is the first thing. When we use the word hard, this is a hard shot, this is impossible, our brain listens to the language. The language matters, right? So your brain doesn't want to do hard things. It instantly is going to freak out a little bit. And when we call a shot really impossible or hard, we freak our brain out, which puts us a little bit behind the eight ball. So what I encourage you to do is be really specific about the shot. Is it that the shot is hard, or is it hard to get it close? What is hard about it? So in other words, I want you to take the shot and pull it apart into its two segments, right? One is you might have to hit a pitch shot 30 yards and land it on the front part of the green. And the hard part is to get it to stop close to the pin because the green's running away from you or it's super fast. So hitting the 30-yard shot is not hard. You can do that all day long. You do it in the short game area. You've done it probably earlier in the round. That's not hard. What's hard is once the ball hits the green is to get it to stop rolling closer to the pin. That's the hard part. It's the green part that's hard, not the shot. Right? So you could say, this is really hard to get up and down, right? Now your brain's going to freak out a little bit. But really all you have to do is hit it about 10 feet. But to judge the speed or the break of the roll after that is challenging. That part's difficult, but the shot itself isn't. And so what happens is when we tell ourselves that it's hard, we end up mishitting the shot and we prove like, see how hard that was? Instead of saying, I can totally hit it 10 feet. I'm going to do the best I can with the roll when the ball starts looking like a putt on the green. Because what we do is we actually make it harder by trying to get it close versus just trying to hit the shot that you need to hit. Decide where it's the best to land it, and the roll, what happens once it's on the green, being whatever it's going to be. But as I call it, like people go out there and they try and do fancy pants. You try and hit a shot that you don't own because you're trying to get it close. You're trying to control how much it rolls on the green when you don't own that shot. So I'm encouraging you to take those shots that you say are hard or impossible or that you're dead. And that might be true. Like it might be that you cannot get that ball close to the pin, but you can hit the shot. I just have to hit a 20-yard pitch onto the green. I put myself in a position that it's going to be really challenging to get this ball to stop close to the pin. I'm just going to do the best I can. And then you take some of that pressure that you put on yourself or that the way that you freaked your brain out about this hard shot off of yourself so that you get a chance to execute it. Because if you are trying to be fancy pants by hitting a shot that you don't own, right? Like if you're a 40 handicap and you can't chip and you're trying to hit a flop shot, right? You're likely going to scull it over the green or you're going to lay the sod over it and have the same shot all over again. We're trying to hit shots we don't own because we're saying it's so hard. And what we're trying to do is get it close. And this is what I want to encourage you to do. When you hear this from yourself or from other people, like, wow, that's a really hard shot, or that's impossible to get close. That might be true. But I want you to ask yourself, how can I make this easier on me? How can I stand over this and be a little bit more calm or certain about what I can do? I can't predict what's going to happen once the ball hits the green, but I can get the ball on the green. How do I get the ball on the green? With what I own today, with where I am, with how I feel. I was telling my client the story that I was playing golf with my brother, tour player at the time, and I remember not feeling super great about how I felt over my sand wedge. We were playing a golf course that I was pitching into the grain a lot, and if you know what it's like to pitch into the grain, it's very easy to dig your club right into the turf, the ball not go very far. And I just wasn't feeling very comfortable that day, so I took out my hybrid and I was hybrid chipping all over the place. And my brother, Dudley, looked at me and he's like, what are you doing? Like, why aren't you taking out your sandwich? I'm like, I don't feel it. I don't feel very good with a sandwich in my hands today. I had to meet myself where I was. But the best thing for me to do was to bounce that ball up on the green and get on the green. Because I was making it harder on myself by trying to hit a shot that I didn't own that day or with those conditions. So you want to make sure that you're asking yourself, how can I make it this easier on me? How can I get this ball on the green with the most predictability? You know, one of the things that I say to people when I'm playing golf with them or with students when they're hitting short game shots, if I had to give you $1 million right now to get this ball on the green, what would you do? And it's a good question to ask yourself. Most of the time it'd be putting. But if I put a sandwich in your hand and you're like, and I said $1 million was on the line to get this ball up on the green, and you all of a sudden felt pressure or fear, then your option's putting or hybrid chipping or bouncing it up on there. Just get the ball on the green. So how can you make that shot easier? And that could be that you change the club that you are thinking you're supposed to hit, right? The fancy pants shot, the one that looks super pretty, the one that will be really impressive if you pull it off. But if you don't, you also want to think about your future self. Like me hitting some of those sand wedges and throwing it into the grain and the ball not going anywhere, I'm going to be really ticked off. Me sculling a ball over the green and making a double bogey is really going to tick me off. And I still have a lot of golf left to play. So I'm going to do something that feels more comfortable right now for my future self until I get myself into a position where maybe I feel a little bit more comfortable with putting a sand wedge with a big bounce in my hands. Right. And the other thing you want to do is be realistic about your results. Sometimes it's like, that's the best I had. That's as close as I could get it. Yay me, high five. I put myself in a spot where it's really, really challenging to get this ball to stop close to the green, but I hit a solid shot onto the green. That's the best I had. Right? If you got to fly it over a bunker and you're hitting on a downhill to a green that works away from you and the pin's tucked close to the bunker, right? Like the best you could probably do is try and get lucky by hitting into the face of the grass of the bunker and seeing if it pops up. That's not a very predictable shot. It's a low probability shot. And your future self will be really ticked off if you left it in the bunker. Then you had an impossible bunker shot, quote unquote. All right, so sometimes we gotta be realistic about the results. The best I can do is get this ball on the green, try and two-putt, get out of here with a bogey, and cut my losses. But when you're trying to get it close, to get the ball to stop close, when it's super challenging, you put pressure on yourself. Pressure is not calm, certain, or confident. It's not likely going to result in a great shot. When you say it's super hard, now you're playing from fear. Again, not calm, certain, or confident, and you're not likely going to make your best swing. And if you tell yourself, like, I got no shot here, or I don't know how to hit this shot, then you create doubt, and you're going to be tentative, and you're going to decelerate, and that's going to be really messy around the greens. So one of the things that I encourage you to do is listen to the language that you're saying to yourself about this is a really hard shot. Divide it up into pieces. Like, I can hit the shot. I just can't predict getting it close because of the roll, because of the terrain, because of the speed of the greens, whatever it is. But I know how to hit this 30-yard shot. I know how to hit a 10-yard chip. And that's all I need to do. And that's the best I can do, because then you create a little bit more certainty, you become a little bit more calm, and you got a shot of executing it, right? So the shot's not hard. Getting the ball to stop close to the pin is going to be challenging because of where I put myself. And being realistic about your results, you're going to produce much better shots around the green. But even more importantly, your misses, which can be very damaging, are going to go way down. You'd much rather get off a green with a bogey than a double bogey or a triple bogey because you sculled it over the green or you laid the sod over it and you got that shot all over again. All right, my friends? So listen to your language about hard shots. That's one of the things that I heard all the commentators saying. Wow, this is a really hard shot. And if the player is saying that in his head, he's freaking out. All right, my friends, so listen to your language about hard shots, challenging shots, or I'm dead from there, and divide it out. It's just like all I have to do is hit this kind of shot. What would make it easier for me? What's the fastest way for me to get this ball on the green so that I'm putting and cut my losses and get out of here with the least amount of damage possible? All right, your brain doesn't like hard. And then as always, you get to remind yourself, I got this. All right, have a beautiful week, my friends. I'll talk to you next Wednesday. Bye.